Welcome, everyone, and happy Thursday. 12 noon Eastern time, always here on LinkedIn, YouTube, and Facebook. This is your favorite show on the internet, a little show I like to call Talent Experience Live, the show that covers everything that you need to know in talent acquisition, recruitment, HR, artificial intelligence, and all of the good things in between. This show is obviously brought to you by the good folks here at Phenom, whose, stop me if you've heard this before, purpose is to help 1 billion people find the right job. It is why we put on great content like this for you, as well as why our legal team works so hard while our customer success and everyone in between really gets up out of bed and gives their best effort, is to work and strive towards our purpose of helping 1 billion people find the right job. Now, you may be asking yourself, how does a little show like Talent Experience Live help 1 billion people find the right job? Well, it's not limited to just this show. We do it through our intelligent talent experience platform, which helps candidates find the right roles faster, recruiters achieve some next level productivity and efficiency, managers build better teams through data analytics and automation, and my personal favorite, helping employees evolve in their current roles and beyond. So if you're interested in any of that at all, head on over to phenom.com, where, of course, you will see a nice little promotion on the homepage for AI Day. It is just around the corner. Whether you like it or not, today is August 31st. So September is tomorrow, and I'd like for you to wake me up when September ends. I'm just kidding. Wake me up on September 14th for AI Day. You won't want to miss it. We are covering all the intricacies, and today's kind of a nice little teaser for that upcoming event. Today, we are talking about regulating the future, specifically a conversation on AI legislation. Obviously, AI has been revolutionary over the past few years, and it's gained a full head of steam, what I would say, over the past 6 months with generative AI. It is all over your Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok feed on prompts and art and videos and everything in between. But as we all know, technology needs guardrails, just like a car does. If you think back to when individuals first started riding around in cars, they used to just put their babies on the floor, let them roll around as they cruise down the highway and threw their litter out the side window. Obviously, we've changed some things. Now you require a car seat for your child until they're at least 200 pounds. But neither here nor there. AI is moving so fast that we've begun to see some rules and regulations pop up. And that's what we're going to chat about today. And I have a very special guest. I am joined by Josh Goren to talk all about regulating the future. Josh, how are you?
I'm good. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. How was the intro? Was it all right?
That was the best intro I've heard
ever
in the history of intros.
Thank you. Well, Josh, I wanted to introduce you, but I think it would come better directly from the horse's mouth. So tell me a little bit about yourself, what you do here at Phenom. And
Sure. So I'm the Senior Director of Contracts and Legal Compliance. I've been with Phenom for almost 6 years. So I oversee our contracts departments for new sales coming in and vendors and all sorts of every contract there is, as well as staying up to date in our legal compliance arena, and keeping up with all the different types of laws and regulations that come into play for Phenom. And just as a little background, I went to Drexel for my undergrad, my MBA, and law school. So I'm what only myself and no one else would call a triple dragon. So it's a very special.
That sounds like a very obscure bowling terminology, a triple dragon, but I like it. I think it's fierce. And also, I love the West Philadelphia representation there.
Yes, I was not born nor raised, but I did spend a decent amount of time in West Philadelphia.
A lot of your school days on the playground.
My school days were spent there.
That's fantastic. We could do Fresh Prince references all day, but Josh, I really want to talk to you about artificial intelligence. It has taken the world by storm. No pun intended, but quite frankly, it's everywhere we look. It is on these little devices that we use every single day. And generative AI has been the latest wave, if you will. We obviously see, beautiful works of art and everything in between. but I can't imagine that everyone is using this in the best ways. What are some bad examples that you've seen of artificial intelligence?
Yeah, I would say my favorite story of people using generative AI terribly wrong is that there's actually been quite a few lawyers who have used generative AI to write their particulars of claim, their legal arguments, and then they presented it to the judge for their respective claims. And at least one circumstance, the judge asked the lawyer about some of the cases they cited. The judge said, like, I can't find these. And as it turned out, the generative AI just simply made up cases. The lawyers did not do their due diligence in checking the work that they gave without checking it to make sure it was correct. So that's a pretty flagrant, terrible use.
Yeah, I can imagine that. Obviously, it's law, right? It's set in stone, if you will. So you'd want that to be a little bit more ironclad.
Yeah, you want that to be correct.
Yeah, yes, hopefully. And you don't want to be citing cases from Suits now that it's on Netflix or anything in between. That's a bad example. I will be frank with you, but obviously it has to take instances like that in order for rules and regulations to really be taken seriously. Last night, I just watched BS High around the Bishop Sycamore case and the whole thing. And now they're looking into high school athletics. I'm not saying that is an apples to apples comparison, but when you see some of these negative use cases and bad use cases, it obviously has a ripple effect to create more guardrails, as I mentioned at the top of the program. So some have come out. What are they? Where are they specifically happening? And what else do we need to know?
Yeah. So, right now there's over 100 jurisdictions that are currently drafting and implementing new rules and regulations. So it's definitely a hot topic, and it'll affect people all around the world in various industries. The most prominent law right now that I'm familiar with, and that has to deal with what we deal with here, is the New York City Local Law 144. Like I said, it's closest to home in our industry. It's also known as the AEDT law, which is for automated employment decision tools. And what the law is attempting is to eliminate bias in hiring practices that may stem from such tools. And although there was some resistance from companies who offer these tools to be classified as AEDTs, most likely due to the fear of, if it is that going to become illegal, or are we not allowed to use this? But ultimately, I view this law as a good thing. It just requires companies that are using AEDTs to properly audit their hiring practices to ensure they are free from bias. And companies should be auditing their hiring practice regardless. So to me, it seems like something that makes a lot of sense, and it's a logical thing going on. And to be honest, like, I'm a little skeptical of companies that would refuse to mandate audits of their hiring practice, because that has a certain appearance. But it could also just be that they don't necessarily want to invest in the new infrastructure that's required. But I see that as being pretty short-sighted. The cost resulting from lawsuits and claims about bias hiring and would be far greater. And if you consider the PR hit that could have, it could be quite, devastating to a company.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and I think removing bias from the hiring process has been something that organizations have been trying to do for years, right? Like whether it's humans or technology. So to your point, auditing that process, I think, makes the most sense. And when we talk about, I've had conversations with Cliff, an individual here at Phenom, who says oftentimes machines are biasless, right? I honestly, this is why I'm not a hiring manager. I would be a bit biased towards a Patriots fan, Josh. That's just how it is. You probably a Dallas Cowboys fan, I would imagine, as well.
Yeah, I wouldn't hire a Cowboys fan because it just shows the type of person they are.
Absolutely, because they are also rooting for the Yankees and the Lakers at the same time.
And Duke. So
Duke, yes, of course we kid. But to that point, humans are inherently biased, right? And machines are not, they have to be taught this. The way to ensure that your machines are not being biased in the hiring practice is to audit them the same way that you would audit your data, the same way that you would get, to use the car example, your car inspected on a regular basis to make sure that it's passing emissions tests and all of those things. They're all the ways of life. One question that I specifically had for you was, you mentioned New York City Law 144, not to be confused with PS 144, the public school there in Forest Hills. But for an organization that may operate in New York City and elsewhere, how does that work when it comes to, using some of this AEDT, maybe in a different state, a different section of the state of New York? Is that something companies have to be aware of?
So the local law does apply just to New York City. And of course, this local law is not making it illegal to use it. And, I guess the better way to navigate around this is, like we did as a company for when GDPR was going live, and whether or not, there was uncertainty at the time, like who would this apply to? And it's always just best to, be in compliance with the law, and because this is going to be a growing trend. Yeah. So even though it might only apply to a certain area, you certainly want to be as in compliance as you can, and, in order to expand and be a successful company. And, as far as being able to use it, we're in the infancy of generative AI, and, there's obviously a ton of unknowns about the potential consequences of its use. And so, I just say best practice for use of any new technology is just to never completely rely on it. It's a tool, and so you need to make it a tool that you help enhance your work. But you want to make sure that the output you're getting is correct. So
you want to hedge your bets, if you will, right? When you're embracing these new things. I think of a bicycle, right? If you're using that to get to and from work every day, and then you have a flat tire, you have to find another way. Happened to me the other day. I don't want to get into it, but I was pretty upset.
That's unfortunate.
It's devastating to wake up and then just see a flat tire.
That's one of the worst.
Generative AI can't fix that. Anyway, obviously I digress from that, but you mentioned specifically that regulation is going to continue. And the example that you used was GDPR, right? And then I know from experience, I think California had a similar data protection law, the CCPA. I may be mistaken there. Don't quote me, but we've seen these things where one sort of set of rules, law, creates a trend. So I want to ask you, you mentioned that the trend is going to happen. How soon is it? Is this 2024, or is this like the NCAA setting out schedules for 2030?
It's not the NCAA.
Okay.
I would say it's happening now.
Yep.
And it takes a while for a law to be drafted, regulation to be drafted, and then to be implemented, and then to be enforced. Yep. So, generally with anything, that's probably a 2 to 3 year span of that being drafted, finalized, and going through all those stages. But, that the trend is happening. It's, back to the NYC local law 144, there are other states that are starting to join that trend. And, again, it's good practice. Yeah. And certainly for that particular law. But.
Absolutely. I think if you're looking at this sort of technology, it makes sense to ask those questions, to say, hey, how can we audit these if it is coming down the pipeline? And the one joke that I have to make is, you mentioned law doesn't happen fast, unless, of course, ChatGPT is writing it and they're using bad examples from cases that never happened.
That's true.
But anyway, we've kind of been a bit negative here today, Josh, and I don't want to do that. This is a positive program. That's why we have the bright colors and everything around here. So we talked about bad examples. Are there any good examples of AI trending over the past few years? You don't have to get into anything specific, but I do want to chat a little bit about the positives.
Sure. I mean, good use of generative AI is, like I had said before, in assisting. So, but specifically assisting in creative writing and using it for inspiration. I know sometimes for myself, I might have a little trouble with the initial structure of what I want to say and organizing those thoughts. And I found that generative AI has helped in that and giving me the idea that, oh, this is how I want this to go. But you can never just have it write everything for you. I mean, I guess you can, but I wouldn't recommend that. But I'd say that's been the good use. Of some fun use is just completely off topic, as I was messing around with the generative AI pictures, and I just would put in my name or a friend's name just to see, what it would come up with. And then it was very, it made me feel a lot better when, I put in Josh, and that was much more handsome than a Matt or obviously a Devin. And so it's, obviously it's fun. It's fun stuff. I'd say though, my favorites, my favorite use of generative AI specifically, there's an hour-long comedy special where the creators took all of Tom Brady's post-game interviews and combined that through the magic of AI, combined that with all of the greatest comedy routines in the history, and it worked. It's worth a watch while it's, still out there. I wouldn't say this is necessarily in compliance with all laws and regulations. Tom Brady's not really a fan of it, so I do recommend seeing it before it gets taken down. But that's.
We'll have to clip it and put a clip in there before it does get taken down.
Definitely worth it.
It's amazing to me that you said how it's helped you creatively, because you're the man behind the inspiration of Phenom Got Bot, the play on the Sir Mix-a-Lot song, which still is in the works. I know.
In the works. It's pre-production.
Yes, pre-production. It will happen probably with generative AI.
That's probably how we'll do it.
Yeah. But nonetheless, to comment on your Tom Brady stand-up bit there, I'm just happy that it wasn't Bill Belichick, because there's simply not enough use case of him talking. It's just, we're on to Buffalo.
It would be a very short comedy special, and it wouldn't be comedy, and it wouldn't be special.
No. So definitely check out the Tom Brady one. I do have two more questions for you, Josh. First one is final thoughts. We talked about a lot today, from cars to Tom Brady, Bill Belichick, lawyers creating fake lawsuits, the whole thing in between. What specifically would you want to leave a viewer with if they're just tuning in now, as far as final thoughts?
Yeah, final thoughts. With any technology, it's get to know it first. You don't rely on it completely. I can't help but think of a great Office clip where they are following GPS and it takes them right into a lake. And I think that's, a pretty good example of why, you just be careful with new technology and understand it. That you don't want to be the lawyer citing fake cases, and you don't want to drive your car in a lake.
No, you do not, especially on a 3-day weekend, which is what we have here in the States coming up. Last question for you, Josh. It's 3-day weekend, but then the NFL season starts. Super Bowl predictions.
Yeah, I would say my prediction is we will see a rematch. Now, I'm an Eagles fan, so, there's clearly introducing bias here. Yes. But they look good. And I think we'll see a rematch. I will be the homer and predict that the Eagles do win this time, but not super confident.
Yeah. And to put a nice little bow on it, that is 100% breaking the new law in New York, 144. You introduced bias into the question.
I did.
And we can't have you back on the program because of that.
But it's good as I'm not an automated employment decision-making tool.
You're only human.
I'm only human.
You are only human. Josh, thank you so much for joining me today. This has been a fun conversation. I've had a great time. We will have you back on at some point. We just have to find more rules that are broken and laws that are being stricken down.
Yeah, well, if we can't find them,
we'll make them.
We'll make them and break them.
Perfect. Well, that does it for today's Thursday episode of Talent Experience Live. As I mentioned at the top of the program, check out AI Day. It is on phenom.com. We're going to be covering topics similar to this, as well as how it all works. So definitely bring your thinking caps to that. You can sign up at phenom.com. You won't miss it there. We will be back next Thursday for the start of the NFL season to give you a sneak preview of AI Day, hopefully nudge you, get you excited for the event on the 14th. But in the meantime, I hope everyone has a safe, happy, and healthy weekend, and we'll see you soon. Thanks.